Part 65. I'm Really Immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Ryu Siahua. Chapter 663. After playing in the game arcade all afternoon before returning home, Lu Chang'an was a little surprised to see Li Hongfang under the plane tree. Come up and sit down. Although she didn't know him, she could tell that she was looking for Lu Chang'an, and Zhou Shuling invited her enthusiastically. Go back and cook. Lu Chang'an waved his hand and drove Zhou Shuling back. We don't invite people to come up and sit down when we have guests. Zhou Shuling grumbled and complained when she saw Lu Chang'an standing downstairs to talk. She looked back at Li Hongfang a few more times before continuing to walk up the stairs. This woman seemed to he is about the same age as himself, and I don't know if he is married or not. What should I do with Lu Chang'an? Zhou Dongdong stood in front of Li Hongfang, holding a rubber duck in both hands and looking up at the unknown aunt. Your milk ice cream is ready. Lu Chang'an patted Zhou Dongdong's butt. Zhou Dongdong immediately screamed and rushed upstairs. As long as his mother was not cooking downstairs, he could eat milk ice cream at his brother Chang'an's house. As for the possibility of getting beaten for eating ice cream in winter, that would only happen after eating. Zhou Dongdong is fearless. Li Hongfang couldn't help but glance at Shang Guandandan again. This beautiful girl was showing an expression similar to Zhou Dongdong's. She was sitting there looking at herself. Li Hongfang saw Lu Chang'an sending Zhou Shuling and Zhou Dongdong away, and wanted to know what Lu Chang'an was doing again. How would you send this girl away? Surprisingly, Lu Chang'an had no intention of avoiding Shang Guandandan. You are completely healed. Lu Chang'an looked very concerned, showing that he was kind. Yes, Li Hongfang didn't expect Lu Chang'an to have such a warm feeling. Looking at this very charming man, he suddenly understood that Sunangziu had never forgotten him. Can I get a health certificate by myself? I'm going to open a new store and need a store manager. Lu Chang'an asked. Ah. I said I had something to do for you. Didn't you agree? Lu Chang'an reminded her to keep her promise. Oh, okay. Li Hongfang was stunned for a moment, but nodded. After all, she no longer had the courage to resist Lu Chang'an. Once a woman feels convinced by a man, it will be difficult to maintain her independence when they get along with her. If you have a different personality, you will often comply with his requests involuntarily, and it is normal to even take whatever you ask for. This is the source of the sense of crisis that many boys feel when they hear their girlfriends praise another man in particular, or express their sincerity for such and such. Then I will contact you then, mainly to help the little mother just now. She is not very smart. You should take care of her more. Lu Chang'an still believes in Li Hongfang's ability to lead a group of bold and ruthless thieves to dig up ancestral graves everywhere. Now just managing a restaurant team is more than enough. Li Hongfang didn't notice that Zhou Shuling was not very smart, but Zhou Shuling did have a good figure, especially her small waist, which was very beautiful when twisted. Oh, by the way, Sunangziu asked me to bring you a message. She is going to Linan recently. If the robot contacts you, it means that the underground base is in danger. I hope you will take care of it, Li Hongfang said. I know Lu Chang'an didn't ask more about Sunangziu. Is there anyone still bringing messages? She doesn't have a mobile phone, so doesn't she know how to send messages? She said you couldn't read the message. Oh. Also, actually I called you, but you didn't answer, so I had to come to your house and wait for you. In the game arcade. Go back and wait for my call. Lu Chang'an nodded. Okay, bye. Wait a minute. Shang Guandandan stopped Li Hongfang. Li Hongfang looked at Shang Guandandan in confusion. Shang Guandandan waved. Li Hongfang glanced at Lu Chang'an, hesitated, and walked over. Shang Guandandan's hair whipped up and tied Li Hongfang's arms. Li Hongfang screamed and hurriedly stretched out her hand to pull, only to find that the hair was tightly bound to her arm, preventing her from moving. The curved hair was not even pulled straight by her. It's okay. Lu Chang'an patted Li Hongfang on the shoulder. Li Hongfang felt a little relieved now, and looked at Shang Guandandan's weird hair with lingering fear. If you dig too many graves, you will always see ghosts. Li Hongfang stared closely at Shang Guandandan's hair that tied her arms. After taking a closer look, she saw that thin hairs were pulled out from her flesh, and then Shang Guandandan's hair fell out. Li Hongfang's arm was opened. Lu Chang'an pinched some of Shang Guandandan's hair and saw a thin film of blood condensed on the ends of the hair. What is this? Lu Chang'an smelled it. There was no fishy smell at all, and it was not like the blood film that normal human blood can form, because it felt too smooth and flexible. It should be the essence left by some kind of fairy in her body, and I got it out. Shang Guandandan raised his hand and motioned for Li Hongfang to squat down. Li Hongfang didn't know what she meant, but in the face of this magical girl, she still cooperated well. Li Hongfang squatted in front of Shang Guandandan with some anxiety. Shang Guandandan did not touch Li Hongfang's head. After all, this woman was not Shang Guandandan's favorite daughter-in-law. It was just because Li Hongfang was tall that Shang Guandandan didn't want to keep talking with her head raised. Fairy, what kind of fairy? Li Hongfang asked quickly when she saw that Shang Guandandan seemed to be able to communicate better than Lu Chang'an. A leprechaun is a leprechaun. Li Hongfang could only look at Lu Chang'an. It should be the living matter that Rasputin left in your body. Sunangxiu cannot completely remove it with the technology of her laboratory. Lu Chang'an can understand that in the consciousness of an old antique like Shang Guandandan, he is certainly not used to using modern biological vocabulary. To express, in her opinion, creatures that are different from ordinary people are goblins. In fact, Lu Chang'an felt that Shang Guandandan was the real goblin, in every sense of the word. Sunangxiu probably didn't intentionally leave these in my body. She tried her best and tried many methods. When she finally told me that it was all gone, I think she really thought so. Li Hongfang explained quickly, even though she was afraid of Sunangxiu, but Li Hongfang was a person who repaid his kindness and she didn't want Lu Chang'an to misunderstand Sunangxiu. Lu Chang'an smiled and said nothing. After Shang Guandandan finished helping Li Hongfang, there was nothing else to do, so Li Hongfang went back. You are quite enthusiastic, Shang Guandandan said. Lu Chang'an was more active in doing these things, but never wanted to help Lu Chang'an with any housework. What if these things on her body are in danger? What if Zhou Shuling is with her and is affected? Shang Guandandan glared at Lu Chang'an. If there is anything wrong with my wife, I can't spare you. Thank you, Queen Mother. Lu Chang'an sincerely thanked Shang Guandandan for the first time. Shang Guandandan waved again, and every time he felt proud, he wanted to touch his head. Lu Chang'an looked around, then bent down and touched her. Just for a moment, Lu Chang'an immediately stood up and went home. Shang Guandandan kept up with Lu Chang'an's footsteps and held his finger. He wondered if he would have any meat buns to eat tonight. After dinner, Lu Chang'an and Shang Guandandan Zhou Dongdong took a walk together. As they walked, they came to the downstairs of Bailong Center. Zhou Dongdong wanted to play with the fairy sister, so Lu Chang'an asked Zhu Huntang. She had already finished her makeup lessons today. After finishing school, Lu Chang'an took them to play with Zhu Huntang. Zhu Huntang was bored and took Zhou Dongdong and Shang Guandandan to play in the dollhouse. Lu Chang'an didn't know how long they would play, so he went to Zhu Huntang's library to read a book. After a while Lu Chang'an was watching intently, Zhu Huntang ran in. You. Lu Chang'an paused and looked at Zhu Huntang. Zhu Huntang, wearing a sheep-shaped doll costume, walked up to Lu Chang'an in a swagger, then bent down and nudged Lu Chang'an with the horns on his head. Lu Chang'an was pushed and looked at Zhu Huntang calmly. Zhu Huntang became proud. You were fooled. I used my cute sheep coat to confuse you, making you think I was just pretending to be cute, but you didn't expect that I hid an electric shock device in the sheep's horns. Did you get shocked? Why are you so boring? Lu Chang'an shook his head, because she was too boring. which made Lu Chang'an feel that it was understandable that such a boring person would do anything, and it seemed that there was no point in beating her. Can I not be bored? Zhu Huntang also felt uninterested. He took off his specially customized sheep headgear and took off his doll clothes while saying, Qinyanan doesn't know what she is doing. It's like confinement. She can't leave the house. Bume squats on that mountain every day and I go to play with her. She insists that she wants to meditate and rest her mind. If I play with her often, it will affect her genes and cause the children she will give birth to in the future to be less smart. You see, you are such a disgusting person. You are such a failure, Lu Chang'an laughed. And by the way, this person, she is working on her little shabby house every day, and she posts some useless selfies every day, which is similar to how life is boring after a breakup. I asked her to come to me to play, and she just gave me. I sent a picture of her lying on the bed, loveless and not even putting on makeup. Zhu Huntang frowned and looked at Lu Chang'an suspiciously. Did you forcefully incite her and cause the image in her heart to be shattered? Got a nervous breakdown. Lu Chang'an picked up the sheep head she threw on the ground, found the electric shock switch, and pushed it towards Zhu Huntang. He shocked her 100 times before letting her go. After all, he was very kind-hearted and soft-hearted. I recommend Above the Dome again, an epic story. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 664. Of course, Zhu Huntang's sheep doll costume was not wearing a fairy skirt, it was just a thin warm tights. She lay on the ground crying bitterly, rolled over and started shouting, Zhongqing, Qing Qing. Zhongqing came in with tea, placed the tray next to Lu Chang'an, looked at Zhu Huntang lying on the ground, and sighed softly. You were having a good time with Zhou Dongdong and the others just now, and suddenly you came over to provoke Lu Chang'an. Before doing such a thing, couldn't you have thought of the consequences? Zhongqing reached out and helped Zhu Huntang up. He bullied me again, Zhu Huntang pointed at Lu Chang'an and complained. He stretched out his hand to pull his clothes and looked at his belly. Fortunately, it was not bruised by the electric shock. This is what goes around. Zhu Huntang is a kind little fairy after all, so the electricity in the horns is not very strong. Think about it, if according to his original plan, Lu Chang'an could be electrocuted and fainted, then now he is an electrician roasted lamb. Lu Chang'an didn't say anything. Thinking about it carefully, it was basically Zhu Huntang who came to provoke him, so he fought back. It felt a bit incredible that he hadn't killed her yet. I want to take revenge on him. Zhu Huntang stood up, wiped his tears and walked over again. When will this be over? Zhongqing did not stop her, nor did he want to stay here to take care of her. He took the tray and walked out. Normally, other servants would do this kind of thing, but many times Miss Zhu was not suitable for it. When the performance was seen by outsiders, it was Zhongqing who did it. It is the chief assistant's job to help Zhu Huntang maintain the image of a cold and elegant young lady. I'm going to bite you. Zhu Huntang walked up to Lu Chang'an and warned him first. Seeing that he was unprepared, he quickly lowered his head and bit Lu Chang'an on the back of his hand. Can't bite at all. Zhu Huntang wiped the back of Lu Chang'an's hand. By the way, he didn't have iron teeth and bronze teeth, so there was no point in biting him. So Zhu Huntang drank some saliva and rinsed his mouth. Then he took a lipstick and painted it on the back of Lu Chang'an's hand. Draw a lip, and then draw two pointed teeth on the lip. Lu Chang'an was reading a book and ignored her. You have been bitten by a vampire. From now on, you are my dependent, please call me Master. Zhu Huntang said to Lu Chang'an majestically. You go play with Zhou Dongdong and Shang Guandandan. They are the most suitable playmates for you. They are equally stupid and equally boring. Lu Chang'an took a sip of tea. Although he did not have any mysterious tea-tasting skills, Zhong, the tea you prepared was very good, and the tea-making skills were very good, and the beauty served the tea, which should be rewarded. Lu Chang'an has always been very respectable. I like to play with you, he Zhu Huntang said nonchalantly, and took the back of his hand to look at it. I want to draw another coat of arms next to it to show that this is a fairy with a noble status. Mark. Didn't you just say you were a vampire? Oh, it's whatever I think it is. You are a sheep. Bah, Zhu Huntang shouted loudly without raising his head while drawing, bah. Lu Chang'an continued to read. After Zhu Huntang finished drawing the coat of arms, he went to find Shang Guandandan and Zhou Dongdong. It was around 9:30 that Lu Chang'an took them home. Remembering that I hadn't practiced retouching for a while, I turned on the computer. As soon as I sat down and held the mouse in my hand, Shang Guandandan came over. The table where Lu Chang'an placed his computer was relatively high, and the stool was also a high stool. Shang Guandandan got in through the gap between his arm and the table, glanced back at Lu Chang'an, and then stared at the table. What are you going to do? Lu Chang'an pouted and gestured for her to turn on the TV. She should sit under the electric heating table and watch TV. It happened to be quite late. Zhou Dongdong had to go to school and go to bed tomorrow, and there was no one to compete with her for the TV. The most prestigious position under the kotetsu. You can install Spider Solitaire. I've heard that games are installed, just like mobile apps. Shang Guandandan leaned back and turned to look at Lu Chang'an expectantly. Lu Chang'an pressed her head and pushed her away. He would not do such a thing. Once he installed the game, Shang Guandandan felt that she liked this television, and she would try to take it for herself. Lu Chang'an tried a color effect. He felt that the key to retouching pictures is that practice makes perfect. A lot of practice and actual combat will be effective. It is easy to become unfamiliar after a period of time in the first semester. Even the shortcut keys have to hesitate before remembering, but there are quite a few shortcut operations. Lu Chang'an logged into QQ and saw Bai Hui online. He happened to have a question to ask her, so he sent a video. The video played for a while, but Bai Hui didn't answer. Just when Lu Chang'an was about to close the window, Bai Hui sent a message, "I'm not very convenient right now. I'll see you in 20 minutes. Lu Chang'an went to the internet to find a few electronic tutorials and read them, and then gave up reading study materials on the computer. He still didn't like the feeling that the text was composed of glowing pixels, so he went to the bookstore to buy some textbooks related to photo retouching. After a while, Bai Hui sent a video request. Lu Chang'an got through. It was already 10 o'clock. She had not taken off her makeup yet. She had delicate makeup on her face, her lips were delicate and moist, her long eyelashes were curled up and refreshing, she had little white jade rabbit earrings hanging on her ears, and her hair was dry. It's clean and silky smooth, as if I'm going to shoot a shampoo commercial. Hello, Lu Chang'an greeted. Hello. Usually acquaintances don't say hello like this, but since he is Lu Chang'an, Bai Hui is not surprised and responds calmly. Are you going on a date? I have nothing urgent to do. Lu Chang'an has always been very considerate of others. No, I just came back from a date. There are too many people asking me. It's not urgent to agree to anyone tomorrow. You can lie in bed and think about it slowly. Bai Hui's tone was still light, and then his eyes kept moving. The book in front of her. Bai Hui's camera was pointed downward, and Lu Chang'an could see that the book in front of her was the Book of Songs. Lu Chang'an couldn't help but laugh. The Book of Songs is indeed an excellent prop for women to take selfies. Zhu Huntang often does this. As a member of the fairy duo, this is also a necessary skill for Bai Hui. Why are you laughing? Bai Hui found out that Lu Chang'an was actually smiling, and felt suffocated in his heart. Didn't he feel her indifferent expression of stay away from strangers and have a normal relationship with everyone? Smile, 10 years or less. I am immortal just because I laugh a lot, Lu Chang'an said. Then smile slowly. Goodbye. Bai Hui reached out to hold the mouse and planned to turn off the video, but when his hand touched the book, the movement slowed down a little, giving people 0.5 seconds to react. Wait, I have a question for you. Lu Chang'an reacted in 0.5 seconds and said quickly. Ask. Bai Hui smoothed the pages of the book and read while waiting for him to ask questions. Lu Chang'an asked a question and Bai Hui answered. I think this poem is very good, let me read it to you. Bai Hui noticed that after Lu Chang'an asked the question, he neither chatted with her nor said he wanted to turn off the camera, but just followed the instructions she just answered. He said casually as he was thinking about something. Read it. The wind is storming at the end of the day, but I am smiling when I look at you. The waves are smiling, and the center is morning. The wind is at the end of the day and hazy, but Hui Ran is willing to come. Don't go and come, I am thinking for a while. The wind is at the end of the day, and there will be a wave of sorrow in the future. Hui Ran, if you are unable to speak, you will sneeze if you wish to speak. Ao Zhao is his yin, and a scorpion is his thunder. If you are unable to speak, you will be pregnant, but if you are willing to speak, you will be pregnant. Bai Hui finished reading and turned off the camera. What a poem, Lu Chang'an said as he continued to retouch pictures, not noticing that Bai Hui had turned off the camera. Hey, after Lu Chang'an finished editing the picture, he sighed softly. Isn't this the wrong poem? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 665. Lu Chang'an felt that Bai Hui's understanding of final wind was definitely not quite right. Ordinary female college students like Bai Hui often did not have the ability to study classics. Even if they read some translations and annotations, they would only come up with, it turns out that this poem is about this. How can there be a sense of questioning, overturning, and self-understanding with the perception of meaning? If An Nuan were to interpret this poem, she would probably have some thoughts of her own. If Professor Lu were to explain her feelings about the poem, she would probably have much more elegant, romantic, and beautiful feelings. Lu Yuwang's abilities outside her professional field are considered by Lu Chang'an to be a typical performance of vases, but Lu Yuwang's ability to study traditional literature, Lu Chang'an feels, still meets her professional quality requirements. Lu Chang'an just asked Bai Hui some questions about photo editing, and he felt that everyone could learn from each other's strengths and use each other's subjective initiative to help each other solve problems that they were not good at. So Lu Chang'an sent a long message to Bai Hui. Classmate Bai Hui, I have listened to the poem you read. I don't know how you understand it, but I have some opinions about this poem that I can discuss with you. One of the translations I want to read by Bai Hui claims that Final Wind is a poem about an abandoned wife. Even some authoritative modern readers of the Book of Songs think so, which in my opinion is not appropriate. There are complaints, worries, longings, and expectations between the lines, as well as anxious expectations and wishes. How does it look like an abandoned wife? Just from the woman's one-sided words, how can we judge that this is a man who has always given up? At most, he just has a playful smile, likes to tease her, and refuses to take it seriously and express his heart honestly. This is also the real reason why the woman is reserved, expecting, and complaining at the same time. This is my understanding and is for reference only. After all, the idea of poems about abandoned wives was over-interpreted by the ancients, especially Zhu 11, who contributed to this idea. Zhu 11, this bad old man, is really bad. He has a love for Zhuangjiang that spans thousands of years. Unfortunately, it is Duke Wei Zhuang who gets Zhuangjiang. As a result, Duke Zhuang of Wei became Zhu 11's lifelong target. In his collected poems, whenever there was a poem that could be interpreted as satire, he liked to say that the poem was used to satirize Duke Zhuang of Wei. The End of the Wind. There is no reliable evidence that this poem was written by Zhuangjiang, but in Zhu 11's eyes, Zhuangjiang was violent, and Zhuangjiang couldn't bear to denounce him, so he compared it with the wind and the wind. As far as poetry is concerned, final wind is just a mood, an expression of the ups and downs of love, which has been interpreted too much by future generations. I wonder how Bai Hui understands this? If you have any objections to me, please express yourself in another poem. You used this poem incorrectly. After Lu Chang'an sent the message, he did not wait for Bai Hui's reply, because in the past, it was normal for letters to be exchanged for 10.5 days, or even months, before he could exchange letters, even though the message he had just sent was a QQ message. He ignored Shang Guandandan, who was sitting under the electric heating table, concentrating on watching 3 Lives, 3 Worlds, 10 Miles of Peach Blossom, and went to bed himself. In fact, Bai Hui was not sleeping yet. When she heard the special prompt, Bai Hui, who was taking off her makeup, snorted and turned her head. She quickly forced herself to turn her head to the mirror and continue wiping her face. So annoying. After stomping his feet several times, Bai Hui couldn't help but throw away the cotton pad and picked up his phone to see what message it was from that annoying, hateful bastard who didn't want to pay attention to him at all. After Bai Hui read the poem to Lu Chang'an, she actually regretted it. She had been visiting her aunt for the past few days and was already very upset. She accidentally flipped through the book Zhu Huntang gave her and looked at the meaning of this poem. The translation was very interesting, so I read it to Lu Chang'an regardless. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a waste of time. I won't have anything to do with him in the future. Whatever he thinks, just mess with his mood. Maybe it might not be able to disturb his mood. After all, this person is basically very heartless. When she turned off the video, Bai Hui felt a little regretful. Maybe he might avoid her in the future. Maybe when we play together in the future, he would never make a prank like burning her hand again. Maybe he would never do anything like that again. I would be in the same carriage with her, standing together and swaying on the subway back to school. At that time, he was wearing high heels, and when he couldn't stand firmly, he would gently raise his hand to support her waist, which would make Bai Hui's heart beat a little through her clothes. That feeling, forget it. Bai Hui turned on her phone and read this message from Lu Chang'an. Stunned. She could almost say that, not really. She read him such a poem that was rich in meaning and could be whatever he wanted, and he actually started discussing it with her. Are you crazy? This is basically equivalent to a boy writing a love letter to Bai Hui, and then Bai Hui seriously pointed out that his grammar and rhetoric were wrong, there were too many typos, and the font was ugly, but he didn't think it was a love letter. I wonder how Bai Hui understands this? I know your dad. If you have any opinions. You are quite self-aware, and I have a lot of objections to you. The biggest objection is that you and An Nuan have only been together for a long time, so why are you going on a truant trip? Haha, have you booked a room? Are you sleeping together? Could you please change the expression? I don't want to change the poem, but can I change it too? Bai Hui felt angry, but it was the first time Lu Chang'an sent such a long message to her, so Bai Hui read it again. How can we judge from the woman's one-sided words that this is a man who has always been in trouble and finally gave up? At most, he has a playful smile, likes to tease her, and refuses to take it seriously and express his heart honestly. He interpreted this poem in this way. Doesn't that mean that his use of this poem is quite correct? Isn't he the one with the playful smile? Isn't he the one who likes to tease her? Reluctant to take things seriously and honestly express his feelings, is this him? When he said it so frankly, did he mean that his attitude towards her was the true expression of his heart? Isn't it like the man in the poem who is playing hard to get, and is still leaving? Bai Hui looked at this message, and the more she thought about it, the more annoyed she became. Why did this bastard send her a message when he had clearly made up his mind to never interact with him again? Wouldn't it be okay if you don't send it? Then she must be sleeping peacefully. Bai Hui wanted to reply to his message, but she typed out a lot of words and deleted them all hesitantly. At this time, she suddenly felt that Lu Chang'an was right. Many people had overinterpreted the final wind, like Zhu 11. The old master is a typical example. How can an old master with a few faces like him understand the woman's mood? Even if he could understand it, he wouldn't bother to explain it, and would only introduce some of his own personal stuff into it. Don't go, don't come, I think about it, why don't we stop interacting with each other, otherwise I will miss you. I can't sleep if I don't speak, but I sneeze if I want to speak, when I miss you, do you sneeze? I can't sleep without words, but my words are cherished, I miss you, will you miss me? Bai Hui tossed and turned on the bed, forgot to remove her makeup, and fell asleep holding the quilt. When he woke up in the morning, Bai Hui sat up in panic. Oh my god, he had forgotten to take off his makeup and went to bed. Do you still want this face? Bai Hui was about to rush to the bathroom when she picked up her phone and remembered what happened last night. She looked at the messages and saw that Lu Chang'an had not sent any other messages. It seemed that this guy was really just talking to her about the Book of Songs. I am very interested in the Book of Songs, but after listening to your interpretation, I feel that my understanding of many chapters may not be accurate. I would like to hear you talk about it. Do you have time today? After Bai Hui sent the message, she stared blankly at the message interface. Did she lose her mind and go crazy? She had been making a resolution all day yesterday, so why did she forget it today? Withdraw, withdraw. Bai Hui was in a hurry and clicked to withdraw. This guy often didn't read the message. He couldn't see it even if he sent it. Just withdraw it. System prompt, you have withdrawn a message, re-edit it. Bai Hui breathed a sigh of relief and patted his chest. Have. I recommend a good book from Big Boss to Martial Arts Leader. I have been in the world of martial arts. I have been in the world of martial arts. I have reached the end of my career, but I still can't see clearly what this world is like. A girl's feelings are always poetry, hence Final Wind. The article is my own understanding, and you don't need to take it seriously. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 666. Seeing the text message that Lu Chang'an replied instantly, Bai Hui wiped the phone screen on his chest in disbelief, then took a look at the reply message, looked at the other party's avatar, and then clicked in to take a look at the personal information. It was confirmed that it was none other than Lu Chang'an. For other people, it is basically normal for messages to be replied to instantly. Often when Bai Hui sends a sentence, someone will always reply to her on the entire screen, for fear that she will not be explained clearly, for fear that she will misunderstand, for fear that she will have some emotional needs, or even explain your tone when replying to her message, etc. But here in Lu Chang'an, replying to messages is a way of giving others face. Bai Hui knows very well that many times Lu Chang'an doesn't necessarily read the message, and he doesn't necessarily reply after reading it. As for replying instantly, Nuan doesn't have such treatment. It was a coincidence today. It must have been that when I was sending a message, he happened to be holding his phone, and for some unknown reason, it probably happened to be stopped in the conversation interface between me and him, so this happened. But, he actually agreed. Bai Hui was a little nervous now. After all, she read a poem to him last night. Although he didn't seem to take it seriously, Bai Hui couldn't take it seriously. There is still some expectation, he actually agreed to meet her, right, forget it, don't think too much, Bai Hui is already used to Lu Chang'an's unusual thinking and impenetrable feeling. Bai Hui thought about it and felt that she was slowly becoming more relaxed. The regrets and worries, depression and entanglements were finally reduced a lot. Maybe she always thought that even if she was an ordinary friend with him, it would be better than that. It would be much better to be indifferent. So let's just put on some makeup and dress a little nicer today. Originally, Bai Hui planned to stay in her little house in her pajamas today. It's all you who insist on meeting me, so I'll show it to you, anyway, you just want to see it? I'm so beautiful, so cute, and have such a good figure. I won't take advantage of you anyway, Bai Hui said. With a squeamish tone in her voice, she put down the phone with a hum. Lu Chang'an originally went to see Sunangzio for something. He wanted to borrow Sunangzio's equipment to observe the changes in An Nuan. He was able to detect some changes in An Nuan's internal organs, as well as improvements in body functions, but the specific data was more accurate through instrument detection. But Sunangzio actually went to Linan again. Lu Chang'an had no reason to ask or make any more guesses, so he planned to meet Qin Yinan. Qin Yinan seems to really think that she should start raising a baby now, which makes Lu Chang'an not sure what to say. Just ignore this matter, it seems like he is a scumbag, wearing pants and refusing to admit it, but Qin Yinan's physical condition is completely different from that of an ordinary man and woman who can get pregnant after having sex. She was about to give birth to a child, but the child had no genetic inheritance relationship with him. No, it was still early for her to give birth to a child. It could even be said that without Lu Chang'an's follow-up process, it would be impossible for her to give birth to any child. So what kind of fetus is this? Lu Chang'an even suspected that Qin Yinan just wanted to experience the life of raising a baby. He took his mobile phone and was about to send a message to Qin Yinan. Because he was going to cook for Qin Yinan at noon, he asked her what she wanted to eat in the morning so that he could prepare it. For this reason, firstly, she used to cook for her, and it was a favor to go back and forth. Secondly, she felt that she was raising a baby, so Lu Chang'an was too embarrassed to let her cook, although it didn't matter. But what if she becomes pretentious later? If anyone else said it, he would ignore it, but she is Qin Yinan. Lu Chang'an always has more patience with her. Thinking of the little girl who followed him and chased him back then, even though she seems to have become another person now, Lu Chang'an, there is no change in my feelings. I happened to see Bai Hui's message, so I replied that if I was going down the mountain after lunch, I could meet him for afternoon tea or something like that. It would also be a good idea. It would be a good thing if Bai Hui could feel the beauty of the Book of Songs and turn away from the evil aesthetics of fairy. Let Zhu Huntang go further and further on the road of fairy alone. Pull one back first and then talk about it? Just thinking about it, it's unlikely. Fairies are fairies after all. Lu Chang'an got up and took out the milk ice cream that was stuck in his mouth. If it weren't for Zhou Dongdong, a nuisance like this, even if he didn't deliberately enjoy such a winter day and such a bed, he wouldn't have woken up so early. This was a miscalculation. I originally provoked Zhou Dongdong because I wanted to see her being taught a lesson by Zhou Shuling. My mother was here yesterday, but I didn't dare to take it out to eat. Isn't it delicious? Zhou Dongdong came over, reached out, and pressed the milk ice cream Lu Chang'an had just taken out back into his mouth. Lu Chang'an took a deep breath, took a bite, and said nothing, not wanting to talk to her. Zhou Dongdong tore off half of the milk carton. He could hold the remaining half in his hand, and then licked it slowly. The milk ice cream was so delicious. Zhou Dongdong hadn't had ice cream in a long time. I'll eat with you tomorrow morning, Zhou Dongdong said with some anticipation. I reject. You don't like ice cream. I don't like it when someone puts something in my mouth while I'm sleeping. Ouch. Lu Chang'an didn't understand why she screamed like this. Maybe she was a stupid child. Zhou Dongdong hid in Lu Chang'an's bedroom and ate a box of milk ice cream. She also ate half of the box that Chang'an's brother left for her. She felt her belly was cold, but she didn't feel uncomfortable, so she took another box and hid it. It was in the school bag, ready to be taken to school for Songdazi to eat. Songdazi must have not had ice cream for a long time. Lu Chang'an went to buy groceries after breakfast. Shang Guandandan followed him holding a thermos. Shang Guandandan originally thought that he would ask her to carry the groceries back after he bought the groceries, so he was a little worried. Hearing that Lu Chang'an was going to see Qinyanan, he expressed that he missed his daughter-in-law a little and insisted on going with Lu Chang'an. Lu Chang'an made a request to walk there without carrying a hug. Shang Guandandan hesitated for a while and agreed. After all, her current range of activities has expanded to the vicinity of the Xiangjiang Bridge. Occasionally, she will bravely walk there where there are many people and cars. She could walk on the bridge that felt like it could collapse at any moment. Recommend a book Surgery Live Room. This is the second time Xiahua has recommended this book. This situation is very rare. If it is not a good-looking book, Xiahua will not recommend it. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Can Ru Xiahua. Chapter 667. That's what she said, and that's what she promised. The Queen Mother was very eloquent, but before she reached the Xiangjiang Bridge, Shang Guandandan had already pulled Lu Chang'an's finger several times. Lu Chang'an glanced at her, but she didn't say anything, just looked at him expectantly with her eyes wide open. There wasn't a lot of strong dissatisfaction on her expression, let alone a look of resentment. She just took 2 steps and trotted to him, then pulled his finger and shook it, and continued to tilt her head to try. Make eye contact with him and let him see the anticipation in her eyes. Come up. Lu Chang'an sighed softly and squatted down. Only then did Shang Guandandan let go of Lu Chang'an's fingers, lay on his back, put his arms around his neck, and said loudly in his ear, I could still take a few steps. Lu Chang'an ignored her, just quickened his pace a little, put Shang Guandandan down after crossing the Xiangjiang Bridge, and then went to the Lushan ticket office to buy a cable car ticket. After queuing up to get on the cable car, Shang Guan looked around for a while and found that the cable car had risen to a height that made her feel insecure, so she hurriedly climbed on top of Lu Chang'an. Are you a monkey? Lu Chang'an wanted to throw her away easily. Regardless of what he said, Shang Guandandan panicked and hugged Lu Chang'an's neck tightly, sat on him and then stretched out his head to look around, his face turned pale. Will this car go to the sky? Shang Guandandan asked worriedly as he watched the cable car lead to the top of the mountain amid heavy clouds and mist. Say you are an ancient person. You also know how to install Spider Solitaire on your computer. Say you are a modern person and have no common sense. You often seem to be very capable, but now you are afraid of taking the cable car. Lu Chang'an had no choice but to sit on the cable car. The central position maintains balance. I'll have to sit down when I get back later, I'm not afraid anymore. Shang Guandandan continued to look around, and at this time, he showed some novel expressions after forcibly calming down. So Lu Chang'an pinched her waist and tried to put her down. Shang Guandandan suddenly looked at Lu Chang'an in panic, as if he was really going to throw her off the cable car. Lu Chang'an had no choice but to give up. In fact, the Lushan cable car was only about 10 or 20 meters from the highest point on the ground, and the nearest position was even 2 or 3 meters. Only when looking from a distance did it feel like it was going up the mountain, getting higher and higher from the horizon. I don't know what she is afraid of. This is probably the same as if a timid cat is taken out, it will only crawl on its owner. At the cable car station at the top of the mountain, Shang Guandandan jumped off Lu Chang'an. The staff looked at Shang Guandandan, who was obviously riding the cable car for the first time, and smiled. After all, as long as he looks good, behaves timidly, and behaves stupidly, anyone who behaves without knowledge will be regarded as cute. Alas, this face-based world is so superficial and too friendly to good-looking people. Did you look like this back then? Lu Chang'an looked at Shang Guandandan suspiciously. Did you have plastic surgery on yourself before we met again? Shang Guandandan glared at Lu Chang'an, took off the thermos flask hanging on his shoulder, and held it in his hand. It's nothing, I just suddenly remembered that when selecting talents, one of the most important things was to be good-looking. There were often people who saved the world because of their good looks, for example, because Mrs. Wei was good looking, Wei Qing and Huo Qubing were reused. Later, Lu Che wanted to recreate Wei Huo's unparalleled military exploits. It happened that Li Yanyan and his sister were both good looking, but there was a big gap between Li Yanyan and his brother Li Guangli's ability. Li Yanyan's younger brother was very good at wooing women, Lu Chang'an sighed, speaking of which, in fact, your grandfather and your grandpa are both brave, tall, and beautiful men. It seems that this is genetic, you inherited their beauty, but not their physique. Am I going to be as big and rough as that in Nuan? After hearing that Lu Chang'an was barely talking nonsense and not slandering himself, Shang Guandandan stopped glaring at Lu Chang'an while touching the thermos pot, and said seriously, the Marquis of Changping and the Marquis of Champions are unparalleled in their bravery and outstanding achievements in battle. Even if they are not good looking, they will definitely be able to show their invincibility. Lu Chang'an didn't argue with her, but why was En Nuan so stupid? En Nuan didn't have any of the 5 major and 3 thick features, including big head, big hands, big feet, big arms, big hips, thick neck, thick waist, and thick legs, but Shang Guandandan's favorite daughter-in-law Qin Yan'an did. The two of them chatted and came to Qin Yan'an's house. Qin Yan'an received a message from Lu Chang'an and just wanted to give Sister Lan a holiday, so he gave it to Sister Lan. Sister Lan went out to play with Brother Tang today, and I was about to go find Zhu Huntang. Shang Guandandan and Lu Chang'an walked out of the elevator, and Qin Yan'an was standing at the door, preparing to change shoes. I sent you a message an hour ago. You said you were waiting for us at home. Now you are standing at the door, acting as if you are going out, saying that you are going to find Zhu Huntang. Which one are you acting in? Lu Chang'an scratched the top of Qin Yan'an's head. Is this a show about my sister's arrogance? I forgot that you were coming. You don't come here often anyway. Isn't it normal for me to forget? Qin Yan'an's cheeks were slightly hot. Does this person know how to deal with the world? You have to cooperate with other people's acting. Do you think you are smart by exposing it directly? Yeah, I took the cable car up just now. It felt like I was going to the sky, and Lu Chang'an wanted to throw me down. Shang Guandandan complained while holding Qin Yan'an's hand. Qin Yan'an didn't know that Shang Guandandan had also come, but she was still very happy. Qin Yan'an showed a dignified and gentle smile. Dandan, have you boiled the hot water this morning? If you haven't made the effervescent tablets yet, I have hot water here, and I saw that you like to drink effervescent water, so I also bought a lot of effervescent tablets, and they taste pretty good. Lu Chang'an looked back, opened his mouth, and said nothing. You bought a lot of effervescent tablets. Shang Guandandan looked at Qin Yan'an expectantly. Qin Yan'an went to pick up a box of effervescent tablets, opened them, and took them out box by box. There were various flavors. They didn't look like bargains, nor did they look like they were bought at a Sanwoo canteen. You didn't even open the package when you bought it. How do you know it tastes good? Lu Chang'an expressed doubts. Qin Yan'an quickly glanced at Shang Guandandan and found that Shang Guandandan's eyes were shining and he was completely attracted by the effervescent tablets, and did not pay attention to what Lu Chang'an said. I know it. I just know it. It's none of your business, go to the kitchen and cook. Qin Yan'an angrily hit Lu Chang'an several times, pointed at the kitchen and sent him to where he should go. Shang Guandandan was there anyway. It looked like he wasn't here to do anything that would help the child's growth. Qin Yan'an just meant to check his body. Today we will eat green salt turtle and drunken shrimp, milk eggs, beef cubes, broccoli, and garlic spinach, Lu Chang'an said, lifting the bag in his hand. You want me to eat turtle? Qin Yan'an looked at Lu Chang'an in disbelief. Can you serve some snacks? Which woman has a baby in her belly and still eats turtle? Lu Chang'an was silent for a long time and then said, forget about eating turtles. Even if you eat arsenic, it will not be a problem for your baby. Then after you finish eating, you have to help me check if there are any problems, so I can rest assured. Qin Yan'an glanced at Shang Guandandan next to him and asked uneasily. Lu Chang'an went directly to the kitchen. These women liked to act like him all day long, and they kept acting to the point where Lu Chang'an had to follow their rhythm. Dandan, I'll give this box of effervescent tablets to you. Qin Yan'an turned around and prepared to lick the queen. Really, Shang Guandandan was touching the boxes of effervescent tablets. Compared with the diligent and frugal housekeeping of his favorite daughter-in-law, Zhou Shuling, Shang Guandandan also admired the grandeur of Qin Yan'an's daughter-in-law. Shang Guandandan thought about it carefully, and in the future, Qin Yan'an would be the eldest lady in the house, because Shang Guandandan was the same as Qin Yan'an in the past. All the things needed in the palace were listed by name and never looked at the price. Now the Queen Mother only has 1,800 yuan of pocket money every month, and she is very satisfied with a box of effervescent tablets, because the total price of these is definitely beyond her financial strength. Of course, I'll load it into the car later and I'll take you back. There are also gifts to bring to Dongdong and Dongdong's mother. Qin Yan'an originally belonged to the list of who should please Yechinayu if he wants to get her. Yes, now that I have slightly changed my role, I can master the details very well. You are worthy of someone who I think can be the empress of the palace. Shang Guandandan was overjoyed. After saying this, she opened her own thermos pot. She planned to finish her own pot first, and then use Qin Yan'an's to soak it and drink it. Although Shang Guandandan seemed to blurt it out, and it couldn't be said that it was Shang Guandandan who made the decision, Qin Yan'an still turned around and smiled to prevent Shang Guandandan from thinking that her smile was too proud. Something good has happened to you, you are so cute that you are laughing so hard. Lu Chang'an came out of the kitchen, found a bottle of wine and prepared to make drunken shrimps. He looked at it suspiciously and grinned, leaving his throat structure intact. Qin Yan'an was exposed. No. Qin Yan'an immediately stopped smiling and watched Lu Chang'an walk into the kitchen. Just as he was about to continue to use his ability to please people, he turned around and found that the elevator door opened, and it was Zhu Huntang who came uninvited. Dan. You are here too. What are you playing at? Zhu Huntang ran over and looked at Shang Guandandan in surprise. She recently had a plan to make Shang Guandandan a fairy. The key to it last night was that Lu Chang'an, after 100 electric shocks, my mind was confused and I forgot to let Shang Guandandan try on her low skirt. Qin Yan'an was a little worried when she saw Zhu Huntang, and quickly went back to the room to put on the radiation protection clothing for pregnant women. Various requests. By the way, do you want me to continue writing endlessly about my daily life, or do you want me to finish it as soon as possible? In addition, new books are being steadily updated, and various requests for escape for your life, author are fat and interesting, suitable for killing. Recommended book, Titans and Dragon Kings. Xiahua has also recommended it before. It is a very good epic divided fantasy. In the current atmosphere, it is rare to find a good fantasy. I hope everyone will support it. In LOL's S9 competition, 9 out of 10 people are unhappy in life. We can't get on the field. They play poorly. Their own teammates and others have nothing to say. There are people in the national football team who support, haha. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 668. Zhu Huntang took off her coat. She was not wearing a cute fairy skirt today. She was just wearing a JK uniform with a white navy collar and grey plaid pattern. In the cold season when everyone became rounder, she felt particularly delicate and feminine. Of course, the most eye-catching thing is the girl's short skirt, half socks and absolute realm. Do you want to drink my effervescent water? Shang Guandandan wanted to drink up her full pot of effervescent water quickly. It was still a little difficult. After all, She didn't even have a big grass carp jumping around in her thermos pot. Question. Okay, Zhu Huntang brought a cup over and looked at Shang Guandandan expectantly, because it gave him the feeling of participating in the daily life of a mysterious creature. Shang Guandandan started drinking effervescent water with Zhu Huntang. Qin Yinan came over, picked up Zhu Huntang's coat that had fallen off and hung it up, and then asked, "You don't have to make up any extra classes today. 2 or 3 hours of extra classes a day is already the limit of human beings. If I had to make extra classes every day, I would rather be an uneducated fool than not study." Zhu Huntang exhaled to show that he was serious. "I am very determined to resist having to make up classes every day." "You already are," Qin Yinan said angrily, "give me your feet." Zhu Huntang moved his feet and watched Qin Yinan pick up some kind of baby care manual she had on the low table. He stared at it and retorted, "You are the one. You spend all day imagining that you are pregnant. Where can you get pregnant? Lu Chang'an doesn't even have this function. If another man had done it, you announced your pregnancy in such a big way, your wild man would have been beaten by Lu Chang'an long ago. I'm just experiencing it. I'm 25 years old. Isn't it normal to have such thoughts?" Qin Yinan shouted in the direction of the kitchen with a slightly louder voice, then lowered her voice and blushed with embarrassment. "Little girl movie, what do you know? How do you know that Lu Chang'an does not have this function? You are talking nonsense. You let him hear it. Don't you think he will beat you until you beg grandpa to sue grandma?" "I'm not afraid of him," Zhu Huntang said disapprovingly. "He's in the kitchen," Qin Yinan reminded. Zhu Huntang walked in and saw Shang Guandandan in his eyes. You think he's in the kitchen, so I don't dare to speak loudly." Zhu Huntang squeezed his throat and imitated Shang Guandandan's more immature and thin girlish voice. "Lu Chang'an is a moldy little biscuit and stinky tofu dog bite stick. This is the evidence that I said you are a fool. How many of you have been punished? Are you not afraid of him? I have never seen you being punished and rolling on the ground day by day when you have the upper hand. Have you forgotten about it?" Qin Yinan sneered. He said, "I have never seen someone with such a short memory. Don't imitate a dull voice if you have the ability. It will be useless if you learn it. If he hears it, there is no way you can get away with it. Look, I'll talk to him." Zhu Huntang was very stubborn and wanted to prove himself. Qin Yinan quickly held her down and said, "He is in the kitchen, don't make trouble." "Okay, you are awesome." Seeing Qin Yinan admitting that he was still a bit powerful in front of Lu Chang'an, Zhu Huntang was not very proud. He held the cup with both hands reservedly and raised his head to drink water, imitating Shangwen's indifference. This tastes terrible. Zhu Huntang has never drunk a drink with such a strong powdery taste." Zhu Huntang saw another box of effervescent tablets and couldn't help but sympathize. Dandan and Lu Chang'an were living a hard life, right? Fortunately, Qin Yinan's choice will be more reliable, which is really heartbreaking. So Zhu Huntang put down the cup, insisted on talking to Lu Chang'an, and ran to the kitchen. Qin Yinan shook his head. Fortunately, he was wearing radiation protection clothing. Lu Chang'an was teasing the turtles with his fingers. These shrunken turtles were very lively. When they saw his fingers stretched out, they would suddenly stretch out their heads and take a bite. I saw a wonderful scene in the animal world. A turtle with a shawl was attacking another unknown mythical beast. Zhu Huntang originally wanted to imitate Zhao Zongxiang's accent, but felt that speaking so slowly, he might not finish speaking. Lu Chang'an had already beaten him, so he finished quickly in his own voice. "Do you believe that I will let these turtles chase you and bite you later?" Lu Chang'an picked up a turtle. Generally speaking, the turtle refers to the turtle family under the turtle family, and the turtle belongs to the turtle family, but it's a turtle. Isn't this all nonsense? Zhu Huntang stood close to the wall to prevent Lu Chang'an from commanding the shawl turtle to attack him. "Are you going to eat turtle for lunch today? Let me tell you again, this is a turtle." Lu Chang'an pulled off the turtle that was biting his finger. It felt like it should have lost a few teeth. Turtles are different from turtles. Turtles have teeth and can bite. It even bites its own kind, but ordinary turtles are not so vicious. A turtle is a turtle. I know that's what most people call a bastard, right? For example, if a man's wife cheated on him and became pregnant with someone else's child, the man would be called a bastard. Zhu Huntang came over and opened his mouth. He opened his mouth, but held back and only spoke half of his words. What do you want to say? Lu Chang'an wiped his hands, put his arms around Zhu Huntang's slender waist, and looked at her gently. I don't have anything to say. Zhu Huntang gritted his teeth and fought against his desire to provoke Lu Chang'an. I don't know why, but every time I have the opportunity to provoke him, that practical impulse is like seeing it's equally irresistible to want to buy the little dress you like. Then you'd better not say anything. Go out and play with Dandan. She is your little friend. Lu Chang'an let go of her waist. This waist was soft and thin, which always made people want to squeeze it. She had the urge to stop, but since she held back, Lu Chang'an naturally held back as well. Zhu Huntang turned around and walked out of the kitchen glumly, a little disappointed that he actually held it back, and couldn't help but wonder if he had called him a bastard just now, would he have slapped himself on the wall like that, or would he have bitten him with a turtle? Own. He felt that he was more likely to be bitten by a turtle. Being bitten by a turtle would not be fun and scary. If he had just forced himself to put on his skirt and socks, Zhu Huntang felt that he must have rushed up to him. Hey, you didn't crawl out crying and rolling around. Qin Yinan looked at Zhu Huntang's unhappy expression and laughed. It's boring, I'm just a little afraid of turtles, but he actually cares about the difference between turtles and turtles. Zhu Huntang asked Qin Yinan, do you know the difference between turtles and turtles? I'm not. You. Qin Yinan raised the temperature in the room a little. Zhu Huntang was wearing too little and was a little worried that she would catch a cold. You're not really pregnant, are you? Zhu Huntang looked at Qin Yinan with some suspicion. Maybe it was really for this reason that Lu Chang'an suddenly came to show his kindness and cook such a body-tonifying soup. Qin Yinan took Zhu Huntang to the bedroom. Zhu Huntang saw an installed crib in her bedroom. Are you serious? Zhu Huntang covered his mouth in surprise. Then he thought the crib was cute and wanted to lie down. He and Bai Hui had taken very dreamy photos before. The two of them found a crib and dressed simply and modestly. The divided little skirt lies down like an angel and fits the baby's feeling perfectly. I didn't have sex with him, but I did have a baby. Qin Yinan decided to share this shocking fact with Zhu Huntang. It was really unbearable not to talk to someone about this kind of thing. He's really becoming a bastard. Zhu Huntang was frightened. She was just joking. She didn't really want Lu Chang'an to have a green head. What kind of plane was Qin Yinan doing? I recommend a book, After the Boss Retires, about fried mushrooms, about raising paper people with Krypton gold. Raising paper people can cultivate your sentiments and enrich your boring life after retirement. Raise them well. Not only can you be affectionate, but you can also, M-Carrot. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 669. Zhu Huntang's voice was a bit loud, and Qin Yinan quickly covered her mouth to prevent her from yelling. Qin Yinan was really afraid that she would rush to the kitchen excitedly and say that Lu Chang'an was cuckolded, which would be too embarrassing. Zhu Huntang opened Qin Yinan's hand, and Qin Yinan walked to the bedroom door anxiously and made sure that the door was closed. How could you do this? I thought you were deeply in love with Lu Chang'an, and I would help you beat the drum from time to time in an attempt to promote your great career, but in the end you cuckolded him. Zhu Huntang looked at Qin Yinan in disbelief. Who is it? Who made your belly bigger? Why are you speaking so harshly? Qin Yinan knew that Zhu Huntang had misunderstood, but he was not in a hurry to explain. Although you are free to let whoever gets your belly bigger, the way you usually show your deep love for Lu Chang'an, now that I think about it, is really a bitch. Zhu Huntang was a little angry thinking about it, holding his hands. Turning around, this is not the Qin Yinan I know. You've already said it, what else can I say? Qin Yinan hit Zhu Huntang angrily, turned around and sat on the sofa. Zhu Huntang turned around suspiciously, stared at Qin Yinan, looked at Qin Yinan's calm look, and asked tentatively, is there something hidden in it? Have you finally come to your senses? You accused me of cheating as soon as you started. I'm not his girlfriend. Why did I cheat on him? Why did I cheat on him? Qin Yinan said angrily. Hearing Qin Yinan's denial, Zhu Huntang didn't feel so uncomfortable even though he still didn't know the whole story. Firstly, he didn't have to feel bad for his grandfather, and secondly, his best friend was not a bitch, so he came over with a smile. Then why are you pregnant with the baby? Are you the Virgin Mary? I know that Lu Chang'an cannot let anyone conceive a baby. Why do you say that Lu Chang'an can't let people have babies? Qin Yinan rolled her eyes at Zhu Huntang. Wouldn't she be pregnant? Although she also knew what Zhu Huntang meant by can't. Zhu Huntang explained her previous theory that Lu Chang'an had no need to reproduce or inherit genes because he was immortal. You can actually say such a truth. Qin Yinan glanced down at his radiation protection suit and looked at Zhu Huntang in disbelief. When the little fairy seriously considered things, she wasn't so unreliable. If you think about it carefully, Zhu Huntang just didn't act that smart in front of Lu Chang'an. I am the kind of person who relies on talent to defeat hard work. Zhu Huntang is also helpless. This is all innate. What can be done? You can knock me down. If you were really that talented, you wouldn't have to try your best to avoid skipping classes every day. Qin Yinan hit Zhu Huntang. However, your talent for nonsense and heresy is quite good. It's a bit like Lu Chang'an's ability. After thinking about it, two people who seem to have no similarities at all seem to have some inexplicable synchronicity. Stop rambling, tell me quickly what's going on when you're pregnant. Zhu Huntang glanced at the crib with interest. His best friend was actually going to be a mother. She felt that she was very far away from her. Even if it happened to my best friend, it would be unbelievable. The crib should be a place where the fairy pretends to be cute, not a place where the fairy needs to use when she has a baby. The little fairy has a baby, is she still a fairy? Unless you lay an egg and then carry it in your pocket every day to hatch a baby with wings that flies around you after birth, then that's pretty much it. Qin Yinan thought of a terrible situation at this time. Sunangxia was the third wife, and Sunangxia was sure that Qin Yinan could get pregnant and give birth to a baby. Was it because she had experience? Qin Yinan looked at Zhu Huntang intently. Sunangxia said that Qin Yinan needs a lot of nutrients to give birth to a baby. If the third wife really gives birth to Zhu Huntang, she should be no exception. Where do her nutrients come from? Lu Chang'an didn't want to see her at all. This is an area that has yet to be discussed. Qin Yinan did not give up his concerns because of this, because many things feel incredible and puzzling when you don't know the truth. But when the truth is exposed, it often feels that it is so simple. Why didn't I think of that? Qin Yinan would not talk to Zhu Huntang directly about this. It was true that Zhu Huntang was very neurotic, but about this, it was really bad for her to open her mouth now. What you said is actually correct. According to the traditional biological point of view, this is indeed the case. But Lu Chang'an is not a phenomenon that traditional biology can explain at all, so he does not make people pregnant in the traditional way. Qin Yinan and Zhu Huntang continued the topic. Is it just a glaring skill to stare at someone who is pregnant? Zhu Huntang said excitedly. Qin Yinan gave her a roll of his eyes. Actually, as long as you have been with him for a long time and have a suitable physique, the breath from his body will naturally cause the suitable physique to produce a gestational sac. What? Zhu Huntang frowned. What do you mean by ginseng wolf? What kind of wolf is ginseng wolf? A very energetic pervert. It's a sac, not a wolf. You still don't believe it if you say you are uneducated. Pregnancy, the pregnancy that will produce pregnancy reactions when you are pregnant, The gestational sac is the most primary stage of the fetus, Jinyanan said angrily. Isn't this the same as staring at someone's pregnancy? Zhu Huntang understood and felt a little flustered. It's different, okay. I'm staring at who's pregnant. Oh, no matter how I explain this to you, I've been led astray by you. Jinyanan patted his forehead. Anyway, it requires a suitable physique, a special physique. Only by getting close to him can such an incident be triggered. Jinyanan could only explain it this way. Jinyanan felt a little embarrassed to tell about what happened more than 100 years ago, and it seemed that he had taken advantage of it because of such cause and effect. Then I shouldn't have it too, right? Zhu Huntang thought of this possibility and almost fainted while hugging his lower abdomen. It was so scary. Dream. Why do you say I'm dreaming? Then you have it. Ah, I'm going to die. Jinyanan looked at Zhu Huntang rolling on the bed and couldn't help but be stunned. He just wanted to talk to her casually. How could this silly girl think of herself? She also looked like she was definitely pregnant. Sorry, I told the group at 11 o'clock last night that I would continue coding after eating fried rice. However, I haven't recovered from my cold these days. I'm not in a good condition and the coding is slow. One chapter took almost 4 hours. Everyone can do it if you have time. Check out my new book. I would like to recommend a book called The First Sequence. Actually, I don't need to recommend it. The book written by Master Zhuozi is well known by everyone. Compared with the popular legend of Lu Xiaoshu, I prefer The First Sequence. I feel that this book is gradually gaining strength. It won't be long before it surpasses the previous one. It's the time when it's ripe, fat, warm, juicy, and full for you to taste. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 670. After Jinyanan was stunned for a short time, she just watched Zhu Huntang quietly rolling over and over on the bed holding her belly, until Zhu Huntang took out her mobile phone and searched there. Can I wear a low skirt and pantyhose when I'm pregnant? What should a father do when he is pregnant and afraid of his child? Is she pregnant or not a fairy? And other questions. Jinyanan was speechless when she saw these questions. As expected of Zhu Huntang, even if she thought she was pregnant, the first thing she searched for was very different from ordinary girls. What you should search now is, what are the symptoms of pregnancy? How to determine whether you are pregnant? Can you search something normal? Zhu Huntang saw that the next search question became, is the fairy pregnant and giving birth to a baby? Fairy. Jinyanan couldn't bear it anymore. Zhu Huntang wiped his eyes, stretched out his hand and patted the bed, sat up, and rolled his eyes in a circle. I want to go find Lu Chang'an. Don't, Jinyanan quickly grabbed her and said, you only think about the possibility of getting pregnant, but this is impossible, and Nuan is not pregnant, so it is your turn. Think about it, if you just casually if she can get pregnant, then Lu Chang'an will have children all over the world. Zhu Huntang was stunned for a moment. That's right. Only a chosen one like me can get pregnant. Jinyanan couldn't help but feel proud. Look at your stinky shit. Zhu Huntang laughed a little relieved, then looked down at his lower abdomen. I'm not nervous now, but I want to buy a machine to check whether there are children, so I can check it for myself. You can also check for others. As Zhu Huntang was talking and thinking, he felt more and more that this was a fun idea, so he immediately sent a message to Zhongqing and asked Zhongqing to get such a machine. Jinyanan didn't care about her, as long as she didn't cry and think that Lu Chang'an got her pregnant. Buying a machine is better than buying a hospital, and buying a hospital is better than going to the hospital. Miss Zhu ran to the hospital to check if she was pregnant. When this was leaked, the Zhu family was shocked. After Zhu Huntang decided to buy it back, he could help Bai Hui and Zhongqing check it out. Bai Hui and Lu Chang'an had a lot of contact, and Zhongqing always went to have supper with Lu Chang'an. He could also help Zhou Shuling and Dan Dan check things out. Yan Qingcheng let it go. Zhu Huntang felt that Yan Qingcheng actually needed to be examined, but this girl was quite stubborn and would probably not agree to such an examination that she considered unnecessary. You can also check up on Qinyanan, which is very important. I heard that you often need to check up after you are pregnant with the baby. Qinyanan did not tell Zhu Huntang much about the special characteristics of this gestational sac, and allowed Zhu Huntang to divert his attention by finding something interesting to do. Zhu Huntang casually sent a message to Bai Hui, "You might be pregnant with Lu Chang'an's baby." Bai Hui was startled by Zhu Huntang's message and made her face turn red. "Lu Chang'an has killed all the turtles. The meat of the big turtles is too old, and the fishy smell of the small turtles is too strong. The medium-sized turtles are chopped into 4 pieces, fried in oil until they are transparent, and then use white wine to fry the big turtles. Add fennel, add salt and simmer until half cooked, then cut the turtles into small pieces, add lard, garlic, bamboo shoot tips and simmer again, sprinkle with green onion and peppercorns when serving. You could have put less salt and more soy sauce, but the color and taste were a bit too strong, which was not very suitable for Shang Guandandan and Qinyanan's preferences." After lunch, Lu Chang'an was ready to leave. With Zhu Huntang causing trouble here, Qinyanan was embarrassed to ask Lu Chang'an to check her body, because most of the time Zhu Huntang was a fairy who was harmless to humans and animals, but if she really wanted to avoid it, when she does something that she is actually interested in, wants to know about, and is willing to participate in, her subjective initiative is mobilized. She can always keenly discover some places that can be gossiped about, and then come to visit or destroy them. Shang Guandandan did not leave with Lu Chang'an because there was a large box of effervescent tablets. Qinyanan promised to drive her back and buy some clothes and cosmetics for Shang Guandandan. So after dinner, Qinyanan invited Zhu Huntang to accompany Shang Guandan. Dan plays cards. Qinyanan added Guandandan's WeChat account, and Shang Guandandan would post on her WeChat moments. They were all selfies she took with a supernatural sense after she picked up a good deck of cards today and Zhou Shuling put makeup on her. Lu Chang'an walked over according to the location given to him by Bai Hui. Bai Hui bought a new house here. Several white houses were scattered high and low on the hillside. They were surrounded by sycamore trees and red prince ribbons, and many other white houses. There are many lilacs, which must be very beautiful in flower season. The lilac flowering season is in spring, and the weather now still has the chill of late winter. White fennel stands under the lilac tree, wearing a rare long white literary dress, and a thin linen scarf hanging casually, revealing with small fragrant shoulders with collarbones. As long as a beautiful girl lets herself have a little bit of color, she can embellish the dull and cold weather with the atmosphere of spring with blooming flowers. Her cheeks were a little rosy, as if the green apple was stained with mature pink for the first time. It was all caused by Zhu Huntang. She sent a message saying that she might be pregnant with Lu Liuna's baby and wanted to buy a machine to check the baby. Check her out. Bai Hui finally adjusted her mentality and felt that she could get along with Lu Chang'an as usual. Little did she know that Zhu Huntang was so inexplicable that it would inevitably make a girl who had never thought about or experienced such things shy and embarrassed. There is a coffee shop downstairs in the 3rd building. The environment is quite good. Come and sit down. Bai Hui did not invite Lu Chang'an to sit upstairs. After all, she is a single girl who lives alone. How can you just invite people of the opposite sex to sit upstairs if you have a relationship as a premise? Okay, why are you suddenly interested in the Book of Songs? Lu Chang'an asked casually. His contribution to human civilization was not great, but he was also a good singer when he played and sang with men and women in the mountains, countryside, cities, and water towns, but he didn't. I thought that later people collected these poems to form cultural classics. Xiao Tang found a version of the Book of Songs with a particularly literary and artistic decoration. She bought it and gave one to me as a gift. She said it looked great when held in the hand or when photographed in the surrounding environment. I flipped through it casually and found it quite interesting. Many of the poems are no less readable than the ones we learned in class. Bai Hui smiled, then pointed ahead, that's right there, eh. After walking a few steps, I saw the cafe Bai Hui was talking about, but it wasn't open yet. It's not open. Lu Chang'an also noticed that these shop owners who like to open a coffee shop in a very literary and bourgeois environment and cannot rely on the surrounding customer flow to meet daily needs are often so casual. Bai Hui crossed her arms and said with some embarrassment, I thought the door was open, but I didn't think I had walked a few steps anyway, and I didn't have much clothes on. I'll go up and get some clothes before I come back down. Which floor is your house on? Lu Chang'an looked up. The third floor. Bai Hui pointed, well, that's the room. The balcony seems to be well decorated. Yeah, the balcony is quite big. I'm going to decorate it into a place for dancing and taking pictures. There are tables and chairs there now. Bai Hui suddenly thought of something and showed a look that wanted to show off, it's quite beautiful. How about you take a look at it for me? It feels good to have some tea on the balcony. The nearest coffee shop or tea house is quite far away. Bai Hui hugged his shoulders and looked back upstairs again, looking at Lu Chang'an not so resolutely or very attentively. Okay, let me take a look at the professional production workshop of the owner of Home Dance Up. Lu Chang'an nodded. It sounds like my dancing is just an assembly line product. I practice it very hard, okay, Bai Hui said angrily, then turned and walked upstairs. Lu Chang'an followed her. Bai Hui took out her mobile phone and saw a message, can I open my business? We agreed to pay 1,000 yuan and open at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and now it's almost 2 o'clock. Bai Hui quickly deleted the message. This person's message was sent to the wrong person and she couldn't understand what it meant. Please push the work-life game by tons beautiful girls. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 671. Bai Hui walked on the stairs, her artistic little white skirt clinging to her figure. As her waist and hip lines swayed, the slits on the side revealed her slender calf lines, and the heels of her high-heeled shoes stepped on the ground and made a beep, beep, beep. The sound is very rhythmic, as if there is a drum beating in the ears. Lu Chang'an followed her and found that compared to her high school days, Bai Hui's temperament was a little more mature, gradually losing the youthfulness of high school students and adding the mature and fragrant feeling of a female college student. Bai Hui turned off her phone and looked back at Lu Chang'an with a shy smile. She knew that Lu Chang'an was willing to go upstairs with her, not because the two of them had an ambiguous enough relationship, but that he finally no longer regarded her as a simple person. She is just the object of banter, treat her as a friend. Although he would still say something about her average figure and appearance, and occasionally get angry, it had been a long time since he deliberately made her angry and wanted to explode. So Bai Hui decided to talk to him about Linen generously to show that her position was innocent and her mentality was normal. A woman who wanted to have an affair with him would definitely not tell him the details of the sweet journey between him and his girlfriend. Did you watch The Legend of White Snake when you were a kid? Bai Hui said, holding up the hem of her skirt. The beautiful scenery of the West Lake, the March day, sorry, I couldn't help but start singing. Of course I have seen it. Lu Chang'an cleared his throat. There were many words that he seemed unable to say normally, and he had to sing as soon as he opened his mouth. For example, sister, you sit on the bow of the boat. You are the wind and I am the sand. The weather is so sunny today. It's this song. I have an original choreography, and I want to dance on the lake at Gao Dui's house, Bai Hui said with some anticipation. Aren't you afraid of falling into the lake again? Lu Chang'an was afraid that she wouldn't remember, so he kindly reminded her, at that time, you looked like a dead fish turning white. Have you forgotten? Bai Hui took a deep breath. He really wouldn't make her explode in anger, but he could still make her chest swell. She just wanted to remind him of the beautiful scene of him sitting on the bow of the boat, her dancing on the boat, and the water vapor on the lake. I mean, now that you have bought a camera, you can also practice taking videos. When we go to Gao Dui's house to play again, we will find 2 boats. I will dance on one boat and you will take videos on the other boat. After Bai Hui finished speaking, he added, I just suddenly thought of it, it hasn't been decided yet. If you don't want to, forget it. Anyway, there should be many classmates by then. Let's see if anyone else can take the video. Let me do it, I'm good at water. Lu Chang'an thought for a while and said. He did want to practice shooting videos, but he was more interested in aerial photography. After all, observing everything from an aerial perspective is not the norm. Are you good at water? Bai Hui's cheeks turned red because she remembered that the closest contact she had with Lu Chang'an was the time Zhao Wuqiang fell into the water. He was lying on her lap, as if, it seemed that his heads were still touching. It reached her chest, and his cheek also touched the skin of her thighs. When Zhao Wuqiang fell into the water, I was sure that the water quality was not very good. If you fell into the water, I was sure that the water quality was good. After all, if Bai Fennel fell into the water, it would be meaningless for Lu Changyuan to pretend that the water quality was not good. Could it be a show for her? Do you want to save her even if you are dying? Bai Hui's heart is beating like thunder. What does this person mean? Does it mean that she is different after all? It doesn't feel like, forget it, don't think too much about it. Lu Chang'an likes to let others feel sentimental, and then he gives you a critical explanation, and Bai Hui will be so angry that he will rise to the sky. In this case it's not just once or twice. Don't worry, this time I will put down my phone first and put on my swimming trunks. This way, if you fall into the water, I don't need to take out my phone and take off my clothes, so I can go directly into the water to save you. Lu Chang'an thought for a while. I suggest you it's best to wear clothes that won't be exposed if you fall into the water. There may be other students watching. Just curse me and I will definitely fall into the water. Bai Hui rolled her eyes at him. Did she mean that if there were no other students around to watch, it would be okay to show off in front of him? What a beautiful thought, I feel like it will. Disgusting. Bai Hui opened the door, blocked Lu Chang'an first, and looked around the room to see if there was anything inappropriate for others to see. This could show that she was really not ready to invite him upstairs, it was just a sudden idea. Come in. Fortunately, I always prefer to tidy up the room, otherwise you would definitely laugh at others. Bai Hui smiled and stepped back, letting Lu Chang'an in. Lu Chang'an looked at the house and nodded. You really plan to be a professional house dancer? These lighting backgrounds and shooting videos have taken a lot of time, energy, and money. Nowadays, the views on videos can basically reach millions. I am in the top 3 in the dance area, and the income is pretty good. I never thought that my hobbies could bring such income. There was an auto show a few years ago, and a domestic company, the supercar manufacturer, asked me to dance and make a video for release. Guess how much it paid me? Bai Hui showed off excitedly. 5,000 yuan, Lu Chang'an guessed casually. 100,000. Bai Hui lowered his voice and looked mysterious, almost as if he couldn't believe it. Bulls up. Lu Chang'an was a little surprised. What are you trying to tease? Bai Hui blushed and glared at him angrily. If he dared to say bad words, she would dare to do something so shameful and angry that she would risk her own life and jump on his back like some women do and knock him to the ground. Things come up. Driving up the price of fennel beans. Lu Chang'an avoided it with a smile. This price is almost the same as the appearance price of many celebrities. In fact, it is not an exaggeration. Manufacturers have learned to be smart and often invite celebrities to appear, but it is just a few. It's just the atmosphere at the scene, and the marketing effect on social media is almost zero. How can anyone not pay attention to social media online marketing now? I hate it. You are Fennel Bean. Bai Fen pointed to the side. Come, look at my little skirts. Bai Hui has initially realized the ultimate dream of a Lo girl. Instead of having a wardrobe filled with little skirts, she has a separate room to place them. She can even prepare a standing cabinet and dolls for some of her favorite styles. Dressed for display. The room where Bai Hui displays the skirts is of course incomparable to the one in Zuhuntang. Except for the main cloakroom, the area where the skirts are displayed is similar to that of many international luxury brands stores. But Bai Hui was already very happy, and Lu Chang'an saw full happiness on her face, without any dissatisfaction or jealous regret. This is a girl who pursues and enjoys material things, but she is not a girl who is dissatisfied with her desires and will never be dissatisfied. A girl who is jealous and covets everything. Your dusting and maintenance are time-consuming. To support this kind of hobby, it is more suitable for freelance work. If a 9-to-5 office worker is a low girl like you, I guess the fun will be much less and the feeling of fatigue will be even more. Lu Chang'an is not a suitable person to appreciate skirts with her, so girls need like-minded friends in addition to love, such as Bai Hui and Zhu Huntang. I have the Feo suit from controller here, would you like to try it out? Bai Hui had actually seen Lu Chang'an wearing hanfu. It was last year's Chinese Valentine's Day. What was that feeling? Bai Hui couldn't remember. Are you still wearing this? Lu Chang'an knew that many girls wear hanfu designed for men. They are very elegant and handsome, and are in line with women's aesthetics of combining feminine and masculine elements. Among them, the Feo suit made by Ming Dynasty Jinyue is very popular with girls. A style. But the kind of girls who look very handsome in their clothes are often ordinary. Even when they dress up as men, they look like handsome and fresh young men at a glance. We girls, many times when we buy clothes, we just imagine that we are looking beautiful in them. We buy them and look at them. We don't even try them on, so we put them away. When I bought this Feo suit, I bought it because that breast, it's just the bust, it's a bit big, it was already pulled out when it was delivered, and I haven't tried it on yet, Bai Hui explained, taking out a Feo suit from the closet, including arm guards and a hat. Don't try. Lu Chang'an shook his head. If I wear this kind of clothes, my whole temperament will change. You will think that I am too handsome, which is not conducive to your future boyfriend. You want some shame? Bai Hui was funny and angry. She said it as if she was looking for a boyfriend now. She casually photographed the clothes in front of Lu Chang'an, then took another set of clothes and went out. Hurry up, I will try my new lens later. I bought a second-hand Otis 85-1.4 from Xianyu. Then don't blame me if you can't find a boyfriend in the future, Lu Chang'an said with great self-knowledge. Bai Hui snorted, walked out and closed the door. I blame you. If not, who should I blame? Let me tell you in advance that for the girls Lu Yuang, Bai Hui, Qin Yanan, etc., it is impossible to write about them riding the waves and singing with the protagonist in the main text. I will write a side story. I would like to recommend this book, The Story of a Chow Lao. It is a book I have recommended before. It is super beautiful and interesting. You can check it out. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 672. Bai Fen's cloakroom is filled with the smell of various clothing and care products mixed together. There is no atmosphere like the fragrance of a girl. The color is more pink and the various skirts are full of flowers. Lu Chang'an feels that taking off his clothes here is equivalent to being raped by a woman. The feeling of being onlookers. Fortunately, he is not someone who is easily controlled by illusions. He agreed to give it a try. He took the flying fish suit in his hand and looked at the flying fish pattern on it. Flying fish is not a flying fish, but a mythical beast that looks like a dragon but is not a dragon. There are some differences between it and a dragon. Creatures like dragons are not as powerful as in various myths and legends, but it is quite appropriate to become a mythical totem, representing a culture, a respected status and image, and representing this nation. Lu Chang'an was wearing mil-soled shoes today. After changing into the Fi'io suit, there was nothing incongruous. He put on a hat and arm guards. In terms of durability, thanks to the advancement of textile technology and materials, modern production, these imitations are of better quality than the historical originals. After putting it on, it feels like it fits well, a little too short. After all, the height has been adjusted. However, at a glance, it looks more muscular and capable. It's a pity that I don't have a good knife to match this outfit. People's impression of Jinyi is Fi'io suit and Xiaochendao. In fact, both of them are gifts from the emperor. Not every Jinyi can use them. Socialism is better. Nowadays, even dragon robes can be worn casually. Play. Lu Chang'an saw a long bow and a quiver with several arrows hanging on the wall, so he also put it on his back, so that the photo effect would be better. Lu Chang'an walked out of the room and shouted when he didn't see Bai Hui. "Here we come." Bai Hui's voice sounded delicate and shy as she ran out of the bedroom next door. Bai Hui is wearing an origami peony jacket from Minghuitang, which is the favorite pink color among girls, and a wisteria gray lion horseface skirt. The color and style are more solemn and mature, but when she wears it, she has that girlish liveliness, which makes the overall collocation appear vivid. Time was in a hurry, and I only had time to make 2 ball-shaped hair, hung up the shaky tassel hair accessories, and walked up to Lu Chang'an. Looking at Lu Chang'an, who was dressed in a capable and mighty dress, this is what Bai Hui wanted. It feels like she is playing the role of a rich lady from an official family in the Ming dynasty, accompanied by a royal guard who protects her. Isn't this kind of combination the plot of many romantic dramas? This is a conspiracy. You tricked me into wearing this outfit in order to feel the CP of some romance novels, and then you pretended to wait for me to change clothes and had nothing to do anyway, so you changed clothes to try. This appearance was actually planned for a long time. Lu Chang'an looked at Bai Hui, showing the anger that he realized after falling into a trap. Bai Fen's cheeks turned red. How could this person say all the lines she had thought of? Now, what should I do now? Where can she find a new reason to explain in a while? Let me shoot you and forget it. Lu Chang'an took off his bow and arrow and aimed at Bai Hui. Bai Hui bit her lip, her pretty face was pink, and she looked at Lu Chang'an with aggrieved eyes. This guy drew his bow so full, he didn't really intend to shoot her, right? Seeing that she didn't scream or dodge, she just stood there. Lu Chang'an was a little embarrassed. He was just joking. At least dodge. Will he come now or not? Go ahead and shoot. Seeing how she doesn't hide, you will definitely hit. Why don't you come? He knew she was scheming, but he didn't react in any way. That would inevitably lead to the misunderstanding that he was happy to be plotted by her. Just kidding. Lu Chang'an coughed lightly, looked away from Bai Hui's face, and said to himself, when I saw the bow, I thought of Hou Yi shooting the sun. I don't know what happened for some reason. Suddenly some people began to say that it was not Hou Yi who shot the sun, but Dai, and Hou Yi did not shoot the sun. Hearing him change the subject so abruptly, Bai Hui quickly cooperated, isn't it true? I have also seen such statements on WeChat and Weibo, and many people suddenly realized it. Actually, Hou Yi, Dai, and Si are all the same person. This is the ancient god. His wife is called Chang'e. According to legend, he is the one who shot the sun. Those who say that Hou Yi did not shoot the sun are just because of the Xia dynasty. There was a small tribal country whose monarch was also named Hou Yi. This Hou Yi was the one who had never shot the sun. Just because of this Hou Yi who had never shot the sun, it was wrong for Hou Yi to shoot the sun. He should be called Dai shooting. Day, in fact, people are just called Yi. Ho, Da, and Si are all honorific titles. Just like you, we will say that Dao controlled the floods. Of course, we respect him as a great one. I guess some people also come up with some trivial knowledge to talk about you. There was no water control, it was Deo who controlled the water. Lu Chang'an sighed. When many people see some so-called cold knowledge, they are keen to spread it and popularize science. In fact, it is more interesting to study it in depth. That's right. Bai Hui came back to his senses and looked at Lu Chang'an, who was still pulling the bow with some anxiety. Do you want to shoot me or not? No, I suddenly remembered that I have something to do and I have to go back. Lu Chang'an glanced at Bai Hui, sighed softly, and put down the bow and arrow in his hand. Then the book of songs, why don't you drink some tea? Okay. Bai Hui looked at Lu Chang'an's calm face, with a vague meaning in his eyes, which made Bai Hui a little uneasy and nervous. Reached out and took the bow and arrow. Lu Chang'an went to change his clothes, walked out of the cloakroom, smiled at Bai Hui, nodded, and walked towards the door. Bai Hui was a little flustered. She suddenly realized that Lu Chang'an really saw everything clearly. This was his attitude. Maybe if he walked out of this door, he would never come back again. Bai Hui felt her heart tightening and uncomfortable. She looked at Lu Chang'an's familiar back. Most of the time, she was the one standing behind him watching him leave, right? Are you destined to be a chaser? So what should the person who wants to chase and stand behind him do? Bai Hui watched Lu Chang'an walk to the door. She didn't know what to do and couldn't help but take a step forward. Her foot stepped on her skirt, and she suddenly lost her center of gravity and fell to the ground. It hurts. Bai Hui cried out in pain. How could he be embarrassed at this critical moment? A big horse fell to the ground. What is the use of this gorgeous official lady uniform? After all, he is just an ugly duckling who cannot turn into a white swan. Lu Chang'an turned around and helped Bai Hui up. Her chin hit the floor, her skin was broken, a trace of blood seeped out, and her beautiful face finally had some flaws. Goodbye. Lu Chang'an still walked out the door. Lu Chang'an. Bai Hui caught up with him, hugged him from behind, and pressed her cheek against his back. Lu Chang'an. I like you. Bai Hui mustered up the courage and blurted out. At this time, her heart was like a kettle on the stove that was beeping and the lid was beating wildly. She didn't expect a response, and didn't know what Lu Chang'an would do, but she couldn't let him leave here just like that. She had to do something, at least let him tell him her feelings clearly before drawing a clear line with her.